Hi everyone, welcome to the Creatives Across Borders podcast with your host Bio. Stephen Bryant is a multi-talented children's book author and creative professional with a background in graphic design, illustration, and photography. Stephen has come a long way since his first book, Santana's Bad Hair Day, in 2017. His passion for creating illustrated children's books has resulted in 6 self-published books since then. In this interview, Stephen talks about his career as an author and designer, juggling different creative roles, inspirations, among others. He also shares his strategy of attending literary events and how it continues to impact his author journey. Now, having originally met Stephen at an event a few years ago, I would recommend his strategy, which I am following myself. Hope you enjoy our interview. Yes, so we're good. Stephen, good to have you finally. It's been what, 4 or 5 years coming now
Yeah,
since
about that, yeah.
since I met you at the Black British
Yeah,
Book Festival in Birmingham.
yeah.
So pleasure to have you join us for this chat. So tell us about Stephen, your background, and how would you describe yourself? Yeah.
Well, so my name is Stephen. I am by trade, I'm a graphic designer, but I'm also an illustrator. I do photography. I do pretty much all round creative, to be honest. But in terms of like my passions, are obviously within the children's books that I've created. So I've created 6 self-published illustrated children's books, and yeah, I'm just all around creative. Really, just enjoy like creative things. Just yeah, and like pretty much started my children's book series in 2017. That was when I initially wrote my first book, and then kind of just gone on from there, and just yeah, pretty much that's it. Really, just continuing the journey, as they say.
Interesting. Good to hear. And in terms of how you got started, Stephen, so I had thought that your journey started in 2021 because that was when I met you. And then going through your profile, I realized that, oh, you started this brand in 2021. So I was like, oh, wow, perfect timing then. But now you've just mentioned that your first book was written in 2017. How
Yes.
did the whole thing get started? Was it a childhood dream or how did you,
Yes.
share
I
with
think like
us?
so when I was a child growing up, like I was always like drawing, always writing, always reading and stuff. And I think like initially I always wanted to do animation because I'd watch like Disney cartoons and stuff and go from there. And then just through various like ups and downs in life, like I ended up going towards graphic design. But I always, any kind of like graphic design work that I did, I always still had a passion for like writing, illustrating and stuff. So I'd got to a point in my life where I was doing so much work for other people in terms of like designing logos, flyers, websites and things. But then I got to a point like, when am I going to do something for myself? So then that's when I kind of decided I'm going to write a children's book. And at the time I didn't really have like an idea of how to do, but it was just something that I wanted to do. And then I just kind of did a bit of research, kind of was messing around with character sketches and stuff. I drew Santana, who's the first character, and then came up with a simple kind of concept for the story. And then pretty much because I had all of the like the illustration background, the design background, I just went out and did it, and then just wrote the book, found out where I needed to get it like self-published and stuff, and just did it. And then pretty much the journey has just continued from there, to be honest.
Yeah, interesting. So, in terms of your background, you've mentioned that you have a graphic design background. So, is that what you studied at university,
Yes,
or?
yeah. So yeah, I did graphic design in college, and then when I went to university, I did graphic design and illustration, and then from there, so just went from there really. But as I say, like my background has generally just always been creative. Like in terms of like I did art in school, did graphic design, and like I've just generally always been like a creative kind of active like person on that side. So you kind of just naturally bled into like the things that I'm doing now. And then just off, it was on the off chance that I kind of ended up doing graphic design because at the time I remember there was a careers woman at the school, and I said, oh, I want to do animation, and then she said, oh, you can do it on this course here, which was a graphic design course, but then there wasn't any animation on that graphic design course. But then I'd kind of just carried on and just stuck with the design. But in like I'm fortunate that I have that kind of groundings in design and the background and like the basis of what I do in design, because it allowed me to kind of bring that back into like my illustration work and have the knowledge of being able to do like the front covers of the book, like layouts, and so everything is just kind of just played into where it needs to go, really. So yeah, but
Wow. Interesting. I should ask you about the stories proper though, because I mean, yes, design, illustration, yeah, those go hand in hand in a sense, but the
the
writing
right,
bit, that's a different thing
yeah,
entirely. So
yeah, yeah.
how do you come about the inspiration and who writes them? Are you the ones who come up
Yeah,
with the
I write.
stories?
Yeah, all my books. I write all my books as well. It's I think initially with like my first book, for example, which is Santana's Bad Hair Day, I'd kind of just come up with like a concept to like. It's funny because I remember in the process of writing it, it's like a rhyming story. I'd got to pretty much finished the end of the story before I had picked the middle bit, so I knew where I started. I knew where I was ending, and it was just because the story is basically about like a little girl that like she's got like an imaginary friend called Milo, and she wants to change. She wants to look different. Basically, she wants to change her hairstyle, but it's more of like because children out there sometimes they want to look different. They want to be, oh, I want to be like this person. I want to be taller. I want to be short, etc., etc. So like the concept of the story was like she goes to 3 different places, like similar to Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where it's like, okay, well, this hair is too short. Let's try another one. This one's too long. And then by the end of the story, she kind of realizes that, like, she speaks with her mom, and her mom reinforces to her that, you're perfect just the way you are. You don't need to change. You don't need to want to look like anyone else. You're perfect as you are. So I kind of already had the concept of where I wanted the story to end and what message I was trying to put across to like the children and the people reading the book, really. So that's how like that one started. And I guess the writing process was fun because again I used to write a lot of well, obviously I write stories now, but when I was younger I used to like write a lot of stories and read a lot of more books and stuff. And then during like my later years in terms of like my design career, the writing kind of stepped back because obviously I was designing and creating and stuff. So it was me just harkening back to like being younger and just writing books and just enjoying it as well. So the process was fun, to be honest. Like it was hard at times because it was a rhyming story. So getting the rhythm together and getting it to kind of fit with the words and the message that I'm trying to put across. But it was just a fun process, to be honest. It was just a fun process. So yeah. And then all the other stories that I have kind of just branched off there. And then a lot of it is just more like my influences and inspirations as we're probably getting to like throughout life.
Yes, because I was going to ask about this one. This one struck a chord in me, by the way. This one,
My daddy
I
is.
mean, my daddy is, yeah, because
Yeah.
I don't feel like I see a lot of, well, maybe it's me here, but I don't
Yeah.
feel like I don't feel like I have seen a lot of books
Yeah.
featuring, daddies and
Yeah.
kids. I mean, we talk about that natural bonding between a mom and a child, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, because I mean, I'm keen to bond with my child every day,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
book struck a chord in me, and I should
No,
ask you, what's the inspiration behind
yeah,
this one?
again, that's exactly the inspiration, right? Because we don't really see it's probably different now, but around at the time, and especially obviously because when I started with my first book, it was a little black girl and a book about hair. And like there's so many kind of books that target that kind of demographic and that kind of audience that like once I kind of finished with the Santana's or brand as it were, it's like, where can I go now? And that was the first idea that came to my head, where it's obviously describing the relationship between the child and the parent through the child's eyes. Hence, like the illustrations a bit more childlike, the text and things like that. But it's because we don't see many books like that. So I thought, let me just, that if there's a space where I can create a book that has that kind of relationship that people can relate to, then why not do it? And then that's literally just why I did it, because I saw there was a space for it. So I thought I'd do it.
Interesting. I should ask you, did you have what was your relationship like with your dad?
It's
Was it
interesting.
the stuff that you painted in the book, or
To be honest, it's an interesting relationship with that. Like, obviously we're all good or whatever, but growing up it was, just me being a rebellious kid and stuff like that. But like it's just yeah, it's definitely it's a good relationship. There's ups and downs as we all
yeah,
have, but it probably wasn't as picture perfect as the
as it is?
relationship is in the book there naturally. But generally though is that it's fine. But yeah, that of course obviously influenced me in certain aspects of how like parents relate to their kids and vice versa as well. So yeah, it's definitely a influence of helping to put that book together.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. So, I mean, I want to talk about, I mean, some of your works that I have gotten to know about. So, I know that you have, I mean, this SB design works because I see
Yeah,
a
that's
lot,
me. Yeah, that's
yeah, I
me.
see a lot of gaming related things in
Yes, yes,
there, you know.
yes.
So, yeah, can you talk us through that one
Yeah, so
also? Yeah.
pretty much like as I say, because obviously I'm a graphic designer by trade. SP Design Works is me, myself as Stephen Bryant. But like in terms of all the gaming work and stuff, because I've done quite a lot of design work for like clients. Like one of the main clients that I do work for is a company called Electronic Dojo, and they hold like the biggest UK fighting game tournament. So like games like Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. So they hold that on an annual basis, and I do a lot of design work for them. So it's more like the posters, the marketing. Like they have like roller banners at the events and stuff. I do photography for them. I've also, I like in the past I've done like their live streams as well because they live stream their events. So I've done the production for the live stream. So I was setting up the cameras, the mics, and doing designing overlays and things like that. So yeah, I still work with them to this day. I pretty much started, I think, 2010.
Oh,
I
wow.
started with them, so pretty much like on an ad hoc basis. So whenever they need me for like their big events and stuff, they'll contact me, and then I'll create like the marketing assets and stuff for like social media and stuff. So if it's like social media banners, adverts, graphics, things like that. So
Wow.
yeah, and then for myself, I say I've done quite a lot of work, like design work. Just I've done work for Birmingham Rep Theatre. I've done work for like box.co.uk, which is a tech brand. So they sell stuff similar to like Corey's PC World. So they sell like laptops, money. So
Yeah.
I did quite a lot of work for them in the past in terms of designing their banners and stuff. And as I say, I'm just pretty much a general like creative. So I dabble in a lot of pots basically in terms of what I do creatively. But obviously like my personal passions are always with like my books and my illustrations and stuff, because that's where I am at my core essentially. Like I always say, like, because there's been periods of time in my life where I feel like I've lost like the illustration side of me, where because I'm focused so much on, okay, I've got this work to do for this company, I've got this work to do for that company, so I'm doing design work. But one thing I always say is that whatever your like your passions or your dreams are, they will never leave you, because in the back of your mind you'll always have that kind of inkling, oh, I wish I could do that or want to do that. So I'm able to kind of do both with like my books and stuff, and then obviously my design work. So I'm pretty fortunate in that aspect, really.
Wow, that's really interesting, and it's a good thing that you mentioned that, because you're right there. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, we all have our things that we do, maybe for paying the bills and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
as long as you still find time to work on your own stuff, I
Yeah.
feel like it's a huge progress. Just taking that one step, because it
Definitely.
speaks of, I mean, it screams of self-belief also.
Yeah,
That,
yeah, 100%.
you know, I can do my own thing. I can still make out time to do my own thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And I should ask you at this point, how do you straddle, you know, this multiple path, you know, this multiple roles or paths? You know, how do you balance things?
It's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy, but I feel like because I am so passionate about what I do and what I'm trying to achieve with like my books and the message that I'm trying to put out there, essentially, I always feel like you will always be able to make time for the things that you know you are passionate and care about. So I think, like, as I say, it's not easy because I work like for essentially a full-time job, and then any free time after that is dedicated towards like my books and things like that. Because if I'm not gonna work as hard for myself as I do for like my quote unquote paid job and stuff, then I feel like I'm cheating myself. So that's one thing that I always stand by, and I think that's what kind of drives me to kind of be as active as I am and trying to push towards the goals that I'm trying to achieve outside of my like full-time job essentially. So it's not easy, but I think as long as you have belief in yourself and it's something that you want to do, like I always say, like when I go to schools and things, like just believe in yourself and just have like the passion, the faith, and the courage to act out on your goals and purposes, really. Because I believe, you know, we're here for a purpose, we're all here for a reason, and some people may not find their reason, their purpose, but like once you do, just do everything you can to pursue that, really. So that's all I do. Is like I just try and do what I can because I know what's in me and I know what I want to put out there. So that's how it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, but because I've been doing it for so long, I enjoy it at the same time, and
Mhm.
I really enjoy doing what I do in terms of the books and stuff, and going to the schools and talking to the kids and whatever else, and just trying to instill some kind of belief in them. Because at the time when I started with the books, I didn't really know. I knew what I wanted to do, but then I didn't know how I was going to do it. And but I didn't think about, is it going to be a success? Are people going to like the books? I didn't think about any of that. All I wanted to do was have like a physical thing that I could say, I have done this for me. Essentially, it's a bit of a selfish kind of thing, to be honest, because it was like I've done it for me. And like, so when I look back, you know, when I'm old and gray, I'm got a little bit of grays now, but you know, when I'm older and grayer, essentially I could look back and say, you know what, I've achieved something. And I think, especially for the first book, that was the driving point. And I was like, I didn't really care if like people were like, oh, you know, the book's not good. It was as long as it's out there and I can
Mhm.
put my name to it.
Yep.
I'm not worried about all the other opinions. Everything else will come off the back of it. What will happen,
Mhm.
and that would
Yeah.
be it. So that was the driving force as well, just to go forward and just do it really. And that's all I gotta say. Just
Man.
go and do it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, man. I'm like that. Every other thing for me is a plus. The first
Yeah,
thing for me
yeah,
is, you know what? That thing that I feel passionate about, that I
yeah.
feel a sense of purpose
Yes,
about,
yes.
you know,
100%.
that because for me, I think of it as a sense of purpose, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not going to leave my sense of purpose to someone else. If I
yeah,
find that I have this popular saying, I call it scratching my itch. I mean, it's not my saying, it's not original to me,
yeah,
but it's pretty much like solving my own problems.
yeah, yeah,
You know, so
yeah,
if I have an idea for, oh, if I think that there's a gap somewhere, oh, I feel like writing a book about my experience or sharing something with my daughter or with the world, you know, I'm
yeah,
not waiting for someone else to do it, man.
yeah.
You know, and
Exactly.
I'm not thinking, oh, is it going to bring me, I don't know if it's going to be
Yeah, yeah,
successful,
yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
again,
Yeah,
along material lines. Or I mean, for
yeah,
me, that's all secondary, to be honest
yeah,
with
yeah.
you. The
Definitely, definitely.
primary thing for me is, you know what? Doing something about that thing that you believe in, that sense
Yeah,
of purpose,
hundred
that
percent,
idea, just taking it from
100%.
abstraction
Yeah,
to reality. So I'm with you
yeah.
100%, man.
I
Every
appreciate it.
other thing is a plus. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
and
100%, 100%.
success is relative, you know. Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
I want my brand, my books to be self-sustainable.
yeah,
But the thing is, it's not a I tell people sometimes it's a total package, you know, it's not
yeah,
one
yeah,
thing. You can't
yeah,
pick and
yeah,
choose one
yeah,
and
yeah,
say
exactly. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I say.
exactly. Yeah.
For
That's all.
example, yeah, can you quantify, because you go out and you talk to kids, right? You go on school visits.
Mm,
Can you really place a price on, you know,
exactly.
the
That's what
look
I mean.
on their faces, so
It's
the
not
looks on
about
their
like
faces?
exactly. It's not about like a monetary value. Like it's
Mm,
about what I'm giving them and what they're giving back to me. Essentially, like when I've gone to schools and stuff and seen the reaction to just first of all, there's times where I've just stepped in the room and it's like, oh wow, like because me as a black male, you know, sometimes they may not see many black males in certain schools depending on where they are and stuff, and that's a kind of thing in itself. And it's like when they come off the back of it, and it's just like the feeling that I get from them, even when I go to events and like there's a little kid come by and like because one of the characters, his name's Amari, he's looked on the book and the first thing he said is, "Oh, mom, my name's Amari too." And it's like just little things like that that they can relate to. And then I just remember there was a time where I went to a school. There's a few years back now, and I was doing workshops with them about just general entrepreneurship, working for yourself. Because at the time I had got made redundant from one of my jobs previously, so I was kind of freelancing design work, but obviously my main thing was focusing on the books. So I
mhm,
was talking to them about like entrepreneurship, how you're working for yourself, pros, cons, etc., etc. And then I remember like by the end of the because it was a workshop where there was like nurses, doctors, other
mm.
people, things there, and then I was there as well. So they did workshops throughout the day, and then at the end of the day, we all came together at the assembly, and then it was like, "Oh, we'd like to thank such and such policeman." I was like, "Yeah." We'd like to thank such and such nurse. I was like, "Yeah," and then we'd like to thank Stephen from Santana as well. And then all the kids are like, "Yeah," and then because I had posters as well, and then just holding up the posters, doing this, and it was like
Wow.
that. Exactly, you can't put a price on things like that.
Nah,
Like it's the
unquantifiable.
influence and the impact that you've had on them
Mhm,
is worth more than anything. And that's
mm.
yeah, I say everything else is like you just do what you do and then whatever comes from it comes from it. That's like my
Yeah.
philosophy. And because I think once you start looking at like it's easy to look at like, oh well, how much money is this gonna make me? And it's when you start looking at that, you lose the purpose, you lose the goal, you lose the reason why you're doing it in the first place because you're not doing it because you're trying to be different, make a difference. You're doing it because you're earning money. You want to earn money, and that's where the lines get blurred. And I think you kind of lose like the totality of what you're trying to do if that is the focus. So that's never the focus for me.
Interesting. I mean, I think it's a good thing that at least you've drawn the line in a sense. You know what you want. There's clarity in terms of that. But I also am a big believer in the fact that if you create value, and you get something out of that from a monetary point of view, it is also an amazing thing, I think, because again, I think it's an amazing thing, which again, I think it all ties in, because I mean, your books are commercial also. I mean, they're out there on Amazon for sale and the like, so that's really good.
Like it's definitely a thing where I'm not saying, don't think about money, but in terms of, if that is your only sole purpose, then I think that you're gonna fail already, because you're driven by the money as opposed to the purpose. And like, it's not to say like I'd love to be in a position where my books are sold in X amount of stores and do like, if this is what I could do full time for my 100%. Like, it's not to say I don't have personal goals with what I'm trying to do. That of course we all do, but in terms of like it being solely focused on the one thing, that's not the case. So
I agree with you. I mean, and I'm with you on that one, because I mean, if that was the case, I mean, you would have stopped.
Exactly.
Because then you're just going to look at it and say, oh, you know what? If it's not bringing XXX, then I'm not doing it. Which I think is why we do what we do, right? Well, for some of us, anyways, which is just trying to balance both sides. Because I look at a full-time job sometimes as just feeding your passion also, so just
100%.
a means to an end, if you get what I mean. Because it's all ties in. And in terms of your journey so far, what would you consider your big breaks, at the with all the exciting projects? What are the standout moments that you've had in your career?
The first one would obviously be finishing the first book, like, and actually, because I remember when I'm going back and forth from doing the illustrations, tweaking them, setting them up and whatever. And then when I sent the book off for proof, and then when I was waiting up every day like a kid at Christmas, like waiting for the mail, like hopefully, and then it came through, and then like I opened up the envelope and whatever. And then when I looked at the book, it was just like a big, like, wow, because I've actually done it. Like, because I've been looking at these illustrations, writing, tweaking from the better part of like half a year or however long it was, and then for it to be encompassed in like a physical product, like that was like amazing. And I still get the same feeling like every book that I've done since then, because it's the like, people may just see, oh, it's just a book and whatever, but what has gone into that book for the back, I say half a year, and the back and the forth, and like it's amazing. So I think firstly, like, that would probably be the second one. Would probably be I had an interview with BBC in regard about my books as well, which is something that I never thought would have happened. It wasn't so. I can't exactly remember how it came about, but I was contacted by BBC Midlands Today, because I'm in Birmingham, so I'm based in Birmingham. So it's like the local BBC Midlands Today. So they spoke to me. They came to my house, spoke to me about my books, like what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to achieve. And then I also had like a interview with them as well, like radio interview as well, where they asked me a couple of questions. And this was in 2019, I think it was. Okay. And like, obviously, it's a big thing because it's on a national platform, talking about
validation also.
Talking about the books that I have created myself. It's not like, it's not been backed by anyone. It's not other people. And like, for them to kind of look at me and my story, and I say the whole piece wasn't just about me in terms of like, it was more about like, obviously because there's this disparity in the characters, like Black and ethnic minority characters. I don't think we use that term anymore. It's like, but the Black and ethnic minorities characters in storybooks, like at that time, I think it was like 4% of all published children's books featured Black and ethnic minority characters as main characters. And obviously that's a large disparity in regards to how we live in general society, because that's not the case. So there's a part of, not being reflected in books and stuff like that. And obviously me being a Black male as creating diverse books, it was something that was highlighted at that time. So it was like fortunate that I got that interview. And again, it was nothing at the start. I didn't think, I want to make these books and then get on the BBC. It was just, I'm just making the books, and just whatever comes from it, comes from it. And I'm just fortunate. So I think that was a pretty big thing for me. And in the actual piece that I had as well, Benjamin Zephaniah was in the piece as well.
The
So
late
he was like,
Benjamin.
yes, he was in the actual like the feature as well, which was, again, I never got to meet him, but like obviously just the fact of being in the same kind of feature with someone of that stature, like rest in peace, like it was just like a big thing that I will always hold with me, because it's like, even if it wasn't indirectly, my name was associated with him in that instance, and it's like, wow. So yeah. And then some of my earlier coloring books were featured in the Sunday, what paper was it now? It's like the supplementary magazine for one of the Sunday newspapers. It's Sunday Express, that was it, Sunday Express. And that came about randomly because there was an event in London that I went to. Because at the time, before I started the storybook, I only had my coloring books. And there's a whole other story behind why I started with coloring books first that we may or may not get into, but that's fine. But I'd gone to an event. It was about a literature event, and there was a guy from the Express newspaper there, and he saw my the coloring books and stuff, and I spoke to him briefly and just said, "Oh, these are my coloring books. This is what I'm doing, etc., etc." And he said, "Hi, like, okay, here's my card," and took my details and stuff. And then maybe a month or two later, like the PR person messaged me and said, "Hi, we'd love to feature your coloring books in like the Sunday supplement thing as one of our." It's like, is it article of like, get these new things this week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then the coloring books were featured in there in the actual the magazine. So it was like, that was just, and again, that's just came off me going to the event and just meeting the right person, and they're seeing what I'm doing and just being, okay, we want to promote this. So it was a great, again. So I think those three are like probably the biggest things currently. And then I guess just every day, just like, because I always learn something new every day while I'm doing what I'm doing. But those are probably the main three big breaks, I guess.
This is inspiring for me, Steven, to be honest, because I'm just trying to connect the dots, to how I met you.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a sense that you're always putting yourself out there, man. Because at the Black British Book Festival in Birmingham, again, saw you sat at your table with your books and stuff. And then we met at the London Book Fair quite recently. Quite recently. And then, you're talking about this event where I'm guessing you exhibited at that event pretty much.
Yeah,
like
I think at the time,
I
just had my books at the time and was just selling out my books. But yeah, I think I've always been of the mind of like, you've got to be seen to be heard, which makes sense. So, and especially with what I'm doing, what we're doing, I guess, because we don't have the backing of, like big publishers or distributors and things like that, your reach is limited to where you are. So if I decide I'm not going to go to any events anymore and try and just do things online, then no one's going to meet me, no one's going to get to talk to me. And I think like when I go to events, I get a greater feeling of the books and the vibe and what people are like liking, not liking, whatever, because I can get to talk to people physically there. So I'm always of the mind of whenever I can find an event to go to, I will go to it if I can. And again, it's not easy because again, full-time job and weekends and etc. But I'm always of the mind of like, you've got to put yourself out there. And it's probably like a few years back, it's probably not a thing that I would have done so consistently. But when I started the books, like, it's funny because again, like even before, as I say, I had coloring books before I had the main books, and there's a reason behind that because I'd gone to a random event. It was I can't remember when it was, but one of my friends said, "Oh, there's a book about the importance of like representation and black dolls and stuff like for children," because obviously the majority, it's probably different now, but again at the time the majority of like dolls and toys and things were featured like white dolls, like Barbies and things like that. So at the time I just said, one of my friends talked to me about it, and I was like, because I'm in the process of writing a coloring book and whatever, writing a storybook, I'll just go down and see what it's like. So I just jumped on the train, went down. It's a good event. And then I had like postcards just kind of saying, "Oh, hi, my name's Stephen. This is my character Santana. I feel I have a new coloring book coming, new storybook coming soon." And then off the back of that, there was a woman there. She had an event maybe 3-4 months later and said, "Oh, would you like to come to the event?" etc., etc. And I said yes, but at that time, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a story. I had nothing, so I was like, "What am I even going to this event for?" But then, in that period of time, I made the coloring books and stuff, and then I went down with the coloring books, and then off the back of that event, there was other events. So maybe like there's a period of time where for like a month straight. Every weekend I was in a different city. So I went to like Leeds, I went to London the one week, then I went to Leeds the other week. I think I went to Manchester the next week. Then there was one in Birmingham the week after. But at that time, I'm like, I've got this now. There's no point me sitting at home with it. So let me just get it out there. And I think that's something that I've always tried to do within the realms of like, you know, making it possible in terms of timings and things like that. If there's events that I can get to, I'll always try and be out there, because it's promotion for me, it's promotion for the business, but it's also I get benefit from talking to people and kind of conversating and them seeing like the face behind the brand, as it were. So yeah, definitely just try and get to all events that I can, to be honest. Hence why obviously when I saw you in Birmingham event, and then when I saw you again obviously at the London Book Fair the other week. So just try and get out there.
Yeah, wow, interesting. I mean, I'm learning a lot from this, and I'm drawing inspiration from this, because this is what I want to do also. This is what I want to be doing. And to just see someone taking that step, or, you know, for me, it's encouraging, it's inspiring, you know, just saying yes to events. And I should ask you, what informed, you know, or what informs your attendance of these events? You know, do they build on one another? And here's what I mean. So did you sort of get some relative success with some of them, like notice any sort of impact by way of sales that then encouraged you to do more beyond just, you know, meeting people?
Yeah. Like definitely. I think the majority of events that I've been to have been pretty like successful in terms of like sales and things like that. Like again, obviously that's not the only metric, but like I think it's just more of just getting out there and just being able to be in spaces where you can be seen. Because as I say, if these events are going by and, you know, you're just sitting at home, then like, as I said, your reach is limited to where you can go. So if I'm at home, people can't talk to me. People aren't going to see my books. People aren't going to be able to kind of have an affinity with the brand, the person behind the brand and stuff, because like I'm not there. So it's like, and then going to the events, it's like pretty much I'll go to any ones that I can, that if, you know, it's events where they do like stalls and stuff. If it's within reason, I'll go, because I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy, like, I think I value that more than like the financial gains and stuff, because they can talk to me. Oh, did these your books? Oh, how did you? And then if anyone wants advice and things like that, I'm happy to give advice. And then just speaking to, obviously, it gives me more of a grounding on my target audience for my books, essentially, which is the kids. Because obviously parents go to these events with their children and seeing how they react to the books and things as well. And like, because obviously I've done the books and I've done research on like, you know, certain things and how things are looking, but there's nothing more than getting like the on-field experience of, oh, how is this child of like, how is this 7-year-old boy reacting to this book? Is there anything that maybe, and then talking to them about it as well, because they are my target audience at the end of the day. And if I'm not getting that kind of experience, then, because at the end of the day, like I will do what I'm doing regardless, and I will put it out there, but you still have to get a level of like notification and kind of feedback. Because then if you're just putting stuff out there and no one's feeding back, and then it's not that it's not liked, but if, you know, it's the wrong, quote unquote, wrong thing, then you're just, what are you doing it for? So it all kind of comes hand in hand. Like it's experience. I say there has been successful events where books have sold quite a bit as well, which obviously I'm thankful for, but what I get out of it is more, because the simple thing is, well, someone would say, oh, can you sign this book for me? And it's like, you know, you sign this for Josh and stuff, and little things like that, where like I don't see it as a big thing. Like, of course I'll sign the book, not a problem. But then in like 4 or 5 years time, when Joshua is like our 13, 14-year-old, they can look back and be like, you know, this is what this guy put in his book. Because I always try and write like a quote in the book, like, or just something like inspiring, like, you know, always do your best, work hard, believe in yourself, you know, you have infinite potential, just realize it, just stuff like that in the book. Because I think that's how I live my life. Like I believe everyone has a purpose. I believe we have the infinite potential, but we have to believe that we can do. And obviously we always have like things like just life stuff that will kind of knock us, like confidence wise and things like that, you know, just the general life stresses. But I feel like we all have the inner strength to kind of push through and like reach our purpose and reach our goal. And that's all I try and put across in the books and in the messages that I put in the books, really.
Interesting. I will touch on a few more questions on events though, because I find this interesting and actually inspiring also. Again, I'm learning a lot from these myself, and I think this would also have people out there So for these events, right, have you had other opportunities by way of, I don't know, school visits
Yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
okay.
Like
Hmm.
basically, the first school visit came from me going to an event and speaking to someone, and she
Hmm.
was like, "Oh," because it was an event where it was a library in London. I can't quite remember. Again, it was a few years back now, but I'd gone to this event just to kind of support the event and just be there and kind of I had like some of my books there and stuff there at the time. And then there was someone that came there and she worked in the school and she said, "Oh, I like these stuff. Take your details down." And then she took my details down. And then the next minute, like I'm going down to London again, but I'm talking to like these year 7 to year 9 kids all day about like myself. So again, a lot of what I've done has happened because I've gone to events and just spoken to people. And it's just, as I said at the beginning, whatever will come from will come from. Like I've gone to the event not thinking, "Oh, I need to speak," but like it's happened to the point where I've spoken to this person now this opportunity is open. I've spoken to this person now, and then that opportunity is open. It's all networking.
Yeah,
All
relationship. Yeah.
networking, just literally everything that I've done up until this point in any kind of perceived like success and things in terms of obviously I say the BBC interview, other things like that has just come from networking at events
Hmm.
and speaking to people and just like they've said, "Okay, well, there's this and then there's that." Like literally, as I say, even from the first event before I started, when I went to the event about the Black Dolls, like it wasn't any really thing specific in regards to what I was trying to do. But I said, "You know what, let me go down there, just see what it's about, kind of get a general vibe." And then off the back of that, 3 months later, I'm at an event in London with my stall and the table of my coloring books and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't go to that event, then I wouldn't have met that person to go to the first event in London. And it's literally
True.
everything has kind of just spiraled from there, really, in terms of like my event. So definitely there's value in going
To
to
events.
physical events because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know
Yeah.
who you're going to talk to.
I can't quantify what I got out of because when I went for the Black British Book Festival in Birmingham, it was, I mean, I was new in the space. I was trying to understand what, how publishing even works within the UK. And once I came across it, I didn't even have to think twice about paying for the event or going for it.
Yeah.
And I can't quantify the value that I got out of that in terms of meeting people, listening to the keynote speaker who was Dap Guardiola at the time.
Yeah.
And also meeting other people. I remember speaking to a lady called Caroline Bain, the lady
yeah.
behind
And she does
Storybooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Storybooks. Yeah, and then she followed up after the event, just giving me more tips and advice in terms of how to get my book into the store, the do's and don'ts and so that was very valuable. And then there were other people there who mentioned other things that I researched into, and then it's just sort of growing my own knowledge base also. And I'm in a much better place now than where I was 3-4 years ago. So I should also ask you, Stephen, how do you even find, I mean, how do you come across this? How do you come about these events? How do you come across them? Do you research?
I think a lot of it is mainly social media, to be honest. I think a lot of it is just because I think when I started, as I say, literally everything started from the first event, which was fortunate because again, it was nothing really to do with books at the time. And then I think from then I'd at that event I met a woman there and she was holding an event like 3 months later. So then when I was at that event, I met another person and then she was holding a couple of events. And then I went to her 3 consecutive events. And then a lot of it is just pretty much like social media because obviously there's like a lot of organizations out there that do events and stuff, and it's just my own. I've done bits of research as well, but generally a lot of it is just kind of word of mouth and social media because it's something still that I kind of find hard sometimes in terms of finding these events to go to, which is obviously there's some more popular. And in regard to like the Black British Book Festival, obviously I'm in Birmingham, so I know about that event. And like, so I was fortunate then. Obviously, I've done that event a couple of times, and then it moved to London last year. So like, that's an event that I just know about anyway. That's on the calendar. But again, something like the London Book Fair, like I didn't really know. I only really found out about that like a few months before I actually went to the event. Because again, it's just like learning. I'm always on a perpetual journey of learning and knowledge, and because again, I've been doing it for so long, but I think in terms of the actual space, in terms of like publishing and books and stuff, I'm still pretty young and new. And it's hard for me because I'm only one person.
Yeah.
So again, I thought you have to kind of get out there and be heard and be seen because there's only so much I can do as one person. But I think in terms of events, it's literally just going on social media, and then people follow people who follow people.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just get slips on, oh, it's like, oh, there's these guys here that are doing an event here. And then you just follow them and just make a note and just keep tabs on, okay, now they're doing events. So a lot of it has just been like social media. And then when I've got to these events, it kind of just branches off from there because in this kind of space that we're in, I guess there's like similar events, like some are focused towards books, some would be like more general events in regards to like, you know, have clothing, hair products, whatever else, jewelry, blah, blah, blah. But these kind of events are all in a similar kind of space, and more often than not, similar people will be following each other about these events and then just following and just talking to them from there, really. So but and obviously it's, if I can get to these events, then I'll get to them if I can. So it's really a lot of it has been just social media, and then when you get to events, because obviously people are always looking to promote events at events as well. So again, a lot of it has been that as well. So pretty mainly that, to be honest.
Interesting. And this is going to feed right into my next question. But before then, I should also mention that the London Book Fair, in my case, I found out about the London Book Fair from attending Scooby, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, attending their conference in Manchester. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So I found out about, and then interviews with people like yourself. I remember the first guest that I had, an illustrator called Tita Beredo, you know, just mentioned about how she got into the London Book Fair and, you know, just taking a bet on herself and then, you know, got agents from there. So that's how it's been. And even Scooby itself, I found out from another author, Jasmine. She's also the founder of Storybooks Studio. Yes. You know, so it's
and again networking because I didn't really know about that, and then it's just networking.
So you meet people, they share this information, you research on it, you meet other people, so it's kind of like that. And so my question is, in terms of your affiliations, you know, do you have any organizations that you were part of, or association that you're a member of?
Not really, to be honest, not at the moment. No, like I know of like AOI, that obviously the Illustrators one. I know about them, of course. But at the moment, no. I'm just a guy just out here, just do what I can. But obviously, these places and these organizations are there to help in these types of journeys and stuff. So I think, again, because one of the things that I've tried to focus on this year is more of building the brand and the networking side of things, because generally when I work, it's like, okay, I'm going to work on this book. I'll work for like 5-6 months or whatever. The book's done. I take a little bit of a break, and then I'm back on the next book. And then it's like, I feel like over time, I've got to a point where I'm just working on books, but I'm not working on the totality of the brand and little things like that. So I think that has been, I say that now, but I'm working on another book now, but that's besides the point. But I think it's more about this year trying to like build the network, build the quote unquote business side of the brand, which is what I'm focused on. So at the moment, I'm not a part of any of these events. Like I look on like, you know, design forums and things and illustration forums and whatever. But in terms of specific organizations, like not currently, but definitely it's things that I'll be looking into the next like few months, because all these things help at the end of the day. So but again, it's knowledge, like knowing, because I didn't know about the Scooby one you mentioned. I didn't know about that. So again, just talking to you now is bringing more knowledge and value. So that's something I'll definitely be looking at.
I agree with you, because I'm a creative myself, and you're always biased towards creating stuff. That's the natural instinct for you. You always want to be making the next thing, you know. But I mean, I think it's also a good thing when you're in the know as to what you ought to be doing from a business side of things, even though, again, even for me, it's a work in progress, you know. You're always going to be selling, as they say, you know, you're always going to be selling your stuff, your brand, yourself, you know, your products. So I think just even recognizing that that's a gap in itself is I think is what admiring and mentioning. And so that's what I have found with, you know, the likes of Scooby. Again, is understanding the space, understanding the business sides of you know, the whole process, you know. And even myself, my self-publishing journey has come about from hearing from people who have also been on that journey. And this was courtesy of, some folks that I met, at Scooby, I mean, it's like the London Book Fair. Also, you have all these different breakout sessions where you hear from this, you hear from that, you get
really
inspired.
Really,
So
like the main reason why I went there was to kind of learn more and get knowledge, and some of the seminars and things that were there were like really amazing in terms of going forward on my journey, going forward and stuff. Really just about like the self-publishing and certain things, do's and don'ts, pros, cons. There's so much stuff that I got from that event, and that was the main reason why I wanted to go there once I found out about it, because it was like, it's the biggest event that we're going to have in our industry, so to speak. So why not go there and like learn?
I agree with you. Same for me, man. I mean, I still reached out to 2 contacts today just to follow up with them on my audiobook. And this was something that, these were people that I didn't even know before the London Book Fair. So you can really quantify, the value of these events, in my opinion. And I think that the payoff will just keep coming. And you don't know where down the line, they will actually, become something major or big. So I'm with you on that one. And I think you're taking the right steps by even identifying those gaps. And
I've definitely got gaps. As much as I'm doing what I'm doing, and as we said earlier, perception dictates that I may feel like I'm up here, but like I know where I need to be and what I need to do. So I say identifying it is definitely like a positive thing. So
good thing. Thanks for mentioning that. And in terms of your influences, Stephen, do you have any influences? Do you have anything that influences your works from a cultural point of view, or other influences? I don't know, faith or some. I guess so.
I guess like I say, growing up, like there's a lot of like Disney cartoons, things like that. I watched a lot of anime when I was younger, comic books, so just the general stuff like comic books, Spider-Man, Batman. I used to watch cartoons. I still watch cartoons now, to be fair. So a lot of my, and then playing games as well. Like I grew up in like the 90s, so Mega Drive, SNES, like Sonic, Mario, those kind of things. As you can see,
Mortal Kombat.
As you can see behind me, like there's a quite Spider-Man, Dragon Ball, like things like that. Just all those kind of things kind of feed into everything that I do and still do today, to be honest. So a lot of like I say, anime, cartoons, comics, general type superhero type stuff, like a lot. Those are like my main influences growing up, I guess. In terms of cultural influences, not so much, because it was more when I would be reading books, it's like fantasy stuff and like dragons and things like that. But yeah, generally I'd say more like cartoons, anime, comics, sci-fi. Those are kind of the main things that kind of are my main influences. Like certain illustrators, Akira Toriyama, Dragon Ball Illustrator, rest in peace, and just general stuff like that, really, to be honest.
Do you have any one within the industry that you sort of look up to as like a mentor to you, or that you keep track of his or her progress or works?
I guess I'd say I wouldn't say like look up to, but more of like an influence in terms of where they are and how they got, like Dapo. Obviously Dapo, done quite a lot of good things, and just again, as a black male, just seeing another black male kind of achieve and prosper like that, it's something inspiring to see. So yeah, definitely I'd say him, and obviously read all his books as well. And it definitely, I think, just as we always talk about representation and reflection and stuff. He's definitely someone like in that space that we can look up to and say, well, he has got to where he has got to. And again, it's perception and all the rest of it, but he's in a space where he's in the industry, active, working and all. And as a black male, that is inspiring, because I couldn't tell you, like when I was younger growing up, like, I didn't know. I wouldn't have thought there was, there's a black illustrator that does this. And like, you wouldn't really think about that because you don't really know. But obviously you can see it. So it's like, you can achieve. And that's what I always say with like the influence is like, if I can go to a school and then one little kid sees me and says, like I've had it happen where a kid says, I want to be an illustrator now. And it's like little things like that. That's why your purpose is to inspire. And that's all. So I'd say him. There's other illustrators that I obviously admire. I'm more like comic artists and stuff like that. There's one called James Stokoe, like he's pretty detailed artwork and stuff like. And then as I say, like manga artists and stuff like Akira Toriyama, all the Tite Kubos, he does Bleach, just general like those kind of artists as well. To be fair, like I think a lot of my influences come from like Japanese culture in regards to like the anime, like the gaming side of things. Like when I grew up, like Capcom, who made Street Fighter, pretty much all of their artists were like my influences, like all of them.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
I do have some of them. I don't even know where the books are now. But yeah, a lot of like their artists, like in the 90s, pretty much like made me want to create in the first place, to be honest. So yeah.
Nice. I should ask you, especially considering your visit to schools and meeting with people. I mean, of course, it being a society like this, your audience would obviously be multicultural, so diverse. So not just people like myself or you. So how do these audiences? Did you have a sense of how these audiences from different cultural backgrounds have responded to your art or your books or anything? Did you get a sense?
Very positive, very, very positively, to be honest. Like, because I think one thing that I've tried to do with my stories, although they all feature like Black characters and stuff, they are not only for Black people. Like I don't want to be pigeonholed as the guy that just does Black. So my stories are more relatable across the board. So like where obviously like the first book, for example, Santana, obviously, it's Black girl with the Afro puffs and whatever else. She happens to be a Black character, but the story and the moral and the ending is what I'm trying to put across to the children is that, you don't have to look like other people. You're perfect as you are, just believe in yourself. And that's something that can go to like, a white child, an Asian child. And some of the schools that I've gone to are like, there's a few schools that I've done that are predominantly Muslim schools. So, we got Asian kids and whatever else. And like, there's no real separation because the moral and the story and the message is the same regardless of your race or color, for example. So it's been definitely positive. And the schools where I've gone to, I've spoken to white children as well. And it's the same thing. Like one of my books that I've got called Power Up Penny is based on like games and stuff. And like got pixel art in there and stuff and like whatever.
I know that one.
Yeah, like obviously that one, I remember there was a kid at the one of my ex-work colleagues, her nephew, he loves that book. And then he came into the office one of the days and came up and like I was just working away and he came up to me and he was like so amazed to meet me and I took a picture of him and stuff like that. Took a picture of him in the book and then I did like a custom pixel art piece for him and sent it back to him and just said thank you so much for it. So again, it just shows that like, although Penny is a Black character in the games, like it's not about the skin color. Like it's there. Obviously it has its purpose in the sense of, because I'm a Black man, I'm trying to show that we can do more and there's books out there, stuff that feature us because obviously it's improved massively now in a sense because as I say when I started it was probably like 4%. I think now it's maybe like 20-25% of books, so it's still work in progress, but at the same time these books are not limited to just Black people because the message is the message, the story is the story, and people will relate to it how they relate to it essentially. So it's definitely across the board it's this thing because again that's probably one of the reasons why, because I say when I started it was Santana's World and I had the 3 stories in the Santana's World brand, but I got to a point where I didn't want to be pigeonholed with that style. I didn't want to be pigeonholed with, oh, this is the guy that does the books about the Black children with the hair and stuff, because we have like 1 billion books that are focused around hair. And I feel like I'm more than that. I feel like I can do more than that. And I have more influence because a lot of the books that I do, like Power Up Penny, for example, that's solely like a selfish book with my influences and what I like. Because it's got the game in the pixel art. That's all stuff that I do and everything that influences me. So I was like, I'm putting myself into this book, but still making it relatable to children and stories. Like, obviously, I've got to have like a message and stuff at times, but I don't want to be bogged down by, okay, what's the next message that I want to send? What's this? I want to be able to create books that are fun, have like bits of me in there as well. Not all of them will, but just stuff that I would enjoy reading. If I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, I'm trying to create stuff that I would enjoy reading as well. So it's definitely been positive across the board, to be honest.
You're scratching your own itch, man, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you're making stuff for yourself. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being the #1 fan of yourself. I think of your works, which I think is good also. Yeah, because it also feeds your confidence. Yes,
makes sense.
Nice. Thanks for that. And so, in terms of your business offering, Stephen, what services do you offer? I mean, how do you make a living from all of this?
Oh, it varies really, because obviously with the books, it's just mainly selling the books. Like there are times where, like when I have like free time and slots where, I can like potentially do like because I think in the past I've helped layout for books in the past. So like just laying them out, because again my design background comes into things like that. In terms of illustrations and stuff, whenever I have time, just maybe start to do illustration for books and things. So it's things that I'm exploring as well. Like, because at the moment I don't want certain things to take away from my thing going, because again I'm kind of, in that respect, I'm selfish again, but there are definitely times where I've done like layouts for books, I've done illustrations for books in the past, but it's kind of on the back burner right now while I focus on building my kind of brand and stuff, and then kind of going back from there. But and then I say just design work, like again again, because I do so much freelance work as well, like in terms of like designing flyers, logos, business cards, brochures, because again I just do a lot, so it's all in one big melting pot basically. But generally like services, I'd say just contact me, and if there's a space and a need and a time, then I can always fit people in, to be fair.
Nice, interesting. In terms of your work-life balance, I mean, well, games will probably feature in this one. So
I mean, games are there. Not so much now, admittedly. Like definitely when I was younger, a lot more, but not so much now. But I obviously like to read as well, and then just chill out. But sometimes I find it hard to have a work-life balance because everything blends into one in terms of who I am as a person. So like
I get what you mean.
obviously, because I work as a graphic designer, then in my free time I'm working on my books and my illustrations, and like everything kind of blends sometimes. So it's hard to, and I find I'm probably guilty of working too hard sometimes, in the sense of finding that balance. Whereas like let me step away from the creative side and kind of relax. But I like read a lot of books, like read like crime novels and things like that, thrillers and stuff. And then as I say, I'd illustrate, I'd do some sketching and stuff, but that's still
that's why I was going to rephrase my question, because again, I asked the question and I realized, oh, you know what? For some people who literally do professional work based on their passion, work almost feels like play. So you're thinking, oh, so what's the work-life balance? So my question I will rephrase as, so what do you do if you're not drawing or writing?
To be fair, I enjoy quiz shows. Like with my wife, we sit down and watch quiz shows. Obviously movies, general stuff like that. But
nice.
We go watching quiz shows, like that's like the downtime, I guess. Play football from time to time, not as much as admittedly now, but I play football. Like I'm a big football fan. I support Arsenal, so
wow, that's like sell on that. Okay, well,
so support Arsenal.
We shouldn't talk about yesterday then, but
we don't need to talk about that. But so like football, and I enjoy sports and stuff as well, and just general stuff. Like I do a bit of running from time to time, a bit like exercise, and because it kind of like clears you from. Because if you think about it, I'm looking at a screen like 8 hours a day for my work purposes, and then for my book purposes, I'll either be on the screen or on the iPad, and just having the time to get away from the screen, which is why I would do like the exercise or the running or like the reading and little bits like that, really. So
yeah. And how does your queen sort of how does she? Well, is it she sort of grown to accept? This
fully support, 100% support, because nice. She's a writer herself as well. She's wrote a book herself, so
nice.
We kind of like bounce ideas off, like when I'm writing the books and stuff, and she would definitely give me ideas and like fully 100% supportive of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to achieve, and that. So like shout outs to wifey, like definitely, and like I think a lot of what I do go through her. She's essentially the first person to criticize or the first person to acknowledge. So a lot of like, whereas before I didn't have that kind of soundboard, but we always go, and like I say, she's fully supportive of what I'm doing, and just 100% like behind what I'm trying to do with the book. So shout out to her. But yeah, like, and I say, because she writes as well, I would definitely come to her, show this, give her ideas, and she would kind of bounce back. And I say she's the first soundboard that I will have to kind of create the ideas and stuff, and like maybe if something will change, then we go back and forth. But yeah.
Nice.
Definitely,
That's good.
definitely,
That's good.
100%.
Yeah, it's always good to hear of that kind of partnership and support.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And,
And
and it
like,
resonates. Yeah, it resonates. And I can count. Well, for most of the people that, well, if not everyone that I've spoken to on this podcast, I mean, there's always that significant other, that
yeah,
partner who supports, and
yeah,
we
yeah,
all need it, right? Because I mean, no one's
100%.
an island, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really good.
exactly.
And I
And like,
think it also feeds. Yeah, sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say she understands because there's times where like I'm like quote unquote work mode, so it's like okay, I'm work. Like
Yeah.
I know, I like I'm conscious of when I'm just in the zone, as it were. So I know when I need to be pulled out sometimes, and she would
Yeah.
definitely course correct me at times. So yeah, man, it's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
good to have that person there, man.
Yep. I think that really helps. Again, I find that because you can't be your best without the right environment, and the right
Yeah, yeah,
environment is the right kind of people who
100%,
understand you, who
yeah,
support what you do. So that's really, really amazing. So
100%.
yeah, so shout out to her too. In terms of current and future projects, what's Steven currently working on? What's he looking
So
to work on? Yeah.
I'm currently working on, as I said briefly, I'm currently working on another book, which I'm hoping will be done by I'd say like September, October. Like I'm currently working on the illustrations. The writing's already been finished a while ago now. It's just fine tuning the illustration side of things now. But I'll be hoping to physically finish it by like summertime if all goes to
Oh,
plan, and then obviously build on that with the marketing. And I'd say by the end of the year, as long as it's out by the end of the year, then I'll be happy with that. As long as,
oh,
but they're currently working on that. I'm not going to reveal too much until just yet, but
okay.
expect another book this year. That's all I'm going to say.
Future plans? Do you have anything in the offing in the
Um,
future?
at the moment, event wise, I'm not so sure. Again, I'm just trying to. There's maybe an event in September that I'm possibly going to go to in Liverpool. It's the BLB Expo, the Black Expo.
Mhm.
Because I went to one of their events last year in Manchester, which was really good. It was really good, and there was due to have one. I think it was a few weeks back, but unfortunately, it got postponed till
Okay.
September. And it's just BLB Expo, so you'll be able to find them on like Instagram and stuff. So
Thanks for
I'll
that.
be looking to go to there. I think that's, and then obviously there'll be the Black British Book Festival towards the back end of the year, which I'll be going to, and maybe one or two others in the interim. But again, for now, just those are the main ones, and then probably like London Book Fair next year, and then I think the Bologna Children's Book Fair as well. Like that's
Okay.
just gone. So maybe next year I'll like start planning to go to there maybe next year as well, because that looks really interesting. And obviously because it's fully focused around like the children's books, like so may look to attend that next year. Let's see how things go really.
I should add, Stephen, just in case, if you can make it, Scooby, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, the festivals, two festivals that I've attended have held in November.
Okay.
So November, the last two that I've attended were held in Manchester. I don't know where this year's is going to hold, but just in case, I'll send you some info. Yeah, just so you know. I think it's and you can go as a member or as a non-member.
Yeah,
it's just a slight difference in cost, I think. But again, 2 years of attendance have been well worth it for me. So yeah.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay. Do you have any wish list of collaborations, or do you have any? Oh, I mean, I'd like to work with this person, or yeah.
It's hard, really, because I feel like because I've been generally on this journey by myself. Like I feel like I enjoy the independence, but I guess if I was to be able to, just anyone that has like a kind of similar vision, similar kind of mindset, similar kind of passion, just to be able to do things really. Like there's no one like specific, but I'm open to work with anyone, to be honest, like in terms of what I do, my brand, characters, things like that. So no one really specific, but like just if there's opportunities and they were the right opportunities, and then then anyone really, because all I'm really about is positivity and getting things out there and being inspiring to like the younger generation really. So not off the top of my head, but if there's any if anyone wants to work with me, just let me know.
Yeah, and that's interesting, and that feeds into my next question, which is, how might they go about it? Where can they find Steven?
Oh, so pretty much everything in regards to my children's books is on littlemilobooks.com. So, and Little Milo Books is on all social platforms, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even on TikTok as well, begrudgingly. So I jumped on TikTok recently, like maybe about a month ago or so. We've also got a YouTube channel as well, which is just at Little Milo Books on YouTube, where basically we've got time-lapse illustrations, I've got work in progress stuff, I've got interviews on there, like my own personal interviews. Like I've got a series called Little Milo Talks, where it's basically me just kind of breaking down my experience on certain topics and stuff. So the first one was just generally how I got started. So that will kind of give you a bit more background on how I got started. And then I've got a few more of those talks coming up. So I've got like those kind of interviews. I've got event vlogs as well. Obviously, the book fair that I went to recently, and there's a couple of event vlogs on there as well. So that's just at Little Milo Books on YouTube. Yeah, pretty much everything on Little Milo Books, to be honest. And then my personal stuff in terms of my design work, you can find that at sbdesignworks.co.uk, which is me as as a graphic designer. So yeah, that's pretty much where you can find everything.
Oh, nice. I mean, I will be sharing these links on the blog post that will accompany this podcast interview. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And then yeah, tips for artists out there looking to follow in your footsteps.
I wouldn't follow in my footsteps personally, but all I would really say is just believe. If you have like an idea, just go and do it. Like, don't think about, oh, well, what if this happens or what if that happens? Because the more you think about the potential negatives, it's just going to stop you doing it, basically. So just, I would say, if you have an idea or you wake up one morning, like, I want to write a book, just find the necessary research and things, and then just do it. Because essentially that's what I did. Like, I just said to myself, I want to write a children's book now. And then I just went about doing bits of research, and then I just did it. And the fact that I did it was enough for me. And as you've said in this interview before, like, everything that comes off the back of it is just a bonus. So just go out, do it, believe that you can do it as well. Don't let voices tell you that you can't. Like, just go out, do what you can, and just believe in yourself, basically, because like, if you don't believe in yourself, then no one's going to believe in you. So, like, if there's a passion there, if there's a purpose there, if there's a dream that you have, just take the necessary steps, but at least go and do it, basically. Like, that's all I can say, to be honest. Like, I can only speak from personal experience. Like, just do what you can. And as an artist, just draw every day. That's something that I don't do, but it's something that I'm trying to do more. Just draw every day. Just draw every day, soak up your resources, because obviously I'm a bit older, but like back in my day, the resources weren't there as they are now. So there's so much resources, there's so much courses, there's so much YouTube tutorials, there's so much access that we have now that I probably didn't have when I was growing up, that is there. So just utilize it all, like all the platforms, or like YouTube, everything. Just utilize everything that is there that will feed back into your passion, and just do it, basically.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Not a problem.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you, man. Learned a lot from you. B.O.B. I'm jumping into researching B.O.B. right after this, So thank you very much, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate
sharing
the
all
time,
that
man.
you shared. Yeah, and I wish you all the best with everything.
Likewise, man. I appreciate the time, everything, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. You can find all the links in the podcast description. Make sure to follow the Creatives Across Borders podcast and stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, bye.